Hello, algebra students. Okay, good morning. Final exam today. So what I'll be doing here is I'll be going over the practice exam that we did on, most of last week we did the practice exam. Now the practice exam and the actual final exam, question for question, are almost exactly alike. The only thing I do is I change the numbers. So to go through everything and make this easy on you, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through all the questions. Now, there is one more thing, though. So if you are going through these, I'm going to go through these quick today. But if you need them in more detail, attached to this assignment in Google Classroom is all 5 of the lessons I did last week. And last week, I only did about 2 or 3 questions at a time. So I went into more detail. I spent a lot more time on them. So my thing is, I'm going to run through this quick. This is just, what you should be doing and what they look like. But these are, remember, different questions, different numbers. Don't use this as your final exam. You'll get a 0. But watch how I do them. Okay, so I'll try and go. But today I'm going through them quick. As I said, if you need more help, if you're like, I didn't quite get how he did number 1, go find day 1. The first 3 questions are on day 1. You can watch all those videos. They go into much more detail, and I think you'll be fine with that. But this is a quick one, so let's go over this quickly. So, first 4 questions are basic solving for x algebra problems. The first one is a 2-step equation. If you remember 2-step equations, we got to always isolate the variable. We got to put x by itself. So my final answer somewhere along the lines is going to be x equals. Okay, I don't know what that is yet, but it will have to be that. The idea behind algebra is to get everything away from the x. So on this side of the equal sign, I have a -4 and a 2. I always do my addition and subtraction for first. So if I do something on one side, I do it on the other. That goes away. 14. 2x equals 14. My next step would be to divide. I divide both sides by 2. 14 divided by 2 is 7, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. That's it. Okay, so first one is that. It's a 2-step. Second one is going to be a 1-step. Same problem, different numbers. So here I'm going to see -8. I do the opposite. +8. We draw that line there. -8 and +8 go to 0. 22 plus 8 is 30. Use a calculator. Use an online calculator. Use www.desmos.com/scientific. Okay, that's it on the assignment today. You'll see it at the top by the directions. So that becomes 0. So I can just bring down the x. If x equals 30. Always want to get x on one side of the equals by itself. Next one, 2. So, first 4, if you're strong in the basic algebra solving equations, this shouldn't be too much for you. Next one here, we got another 1-step. I'll switch to purple. So it says solve for x. That means I have to get x by itself. What's with x? 3. So what do I got to get rid of? I got to get rid of 3. The way this is written, this means 3 times x. So the opposite of multiplication is division. And the number I want to get rid of is 3. So that's the one I divide on both sides. Divide. X equals -18 divided by 3. If I don't know, I use the calculator. Be careful with negatives. I can't remember if I had this one as a negative on the final right now. It might be. But -18 divided by 3 in the calculator. If you don't know, -6. Use an online calculator. Most cell phones have a calculator on them. Though not my favorite way to do math is on a cell phone calculator, but it's okay. It's better than nothing. Okay. Next one. Here's a 2-step inequality. The only difference here is I have, instead of an equal sign, I have this inequality sign, which is kind of the same thing. Okay, so gonna treat this problem just like I did the other. I got to get everything away from the x, so that means I got to get rid of -6, and I have the -4. I do addition and subtraction first, so this is subtraction, so I do the opposite. +6, because I want to get rid of 6. I want to throw 6 out. 10 plus 6 is 16. And you get negative 4x. And you bring down this inequality instead of the equal sign. Now, the reason I picked this one in particular to do, because it shows one of the weird rules. If I got to do next is I got to divide, because this is negative 4 times x, and I want to get rid of negative 4. So the opposite of multiplying is dividing, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 4. Okay? These cancel out. 16 divided by negative 4 is just 4. Excuse me, negative 4. See, that's why you should use the calculator. And I'll bring down the x. Now, one of the weird rules is that if you divide or multiply both sides by a negative number, you have to flip the sign. So I flipped the sign, and I did it. Okay. Moving right along. Let's switch back to green. Questions 5 and 6 are going to be just simple inequalities. You don't have to solve for them. There's nothing on this side of the equation but x. And this is the only way you can graph them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this. This is the only one I think you're going to have to put a lot of work into when you put it on a piece of loose leaf paper. You'll have to draw a line and some dots. I wouldn't go really, if I'm doing this, right, I go a little bit in this direction and then a little bit in this direction from the negative 3. Now, the negative 3 is the one I have to have on there. I'm going to put that in the middle. I'm going to circle it because it doesn't say equal to. And it says x is less than. Know your less than, greater than symbols. Now, less than is always to the left. Okay, so if you want to think of it that way, if you're writing x is less than, it's to the left. 6, same idea. I'm not going to go crazy with putting in all the numbers. I'll put 7 in the middle. I'll go a few this way, so 7, 8, 9, 10. I'll go through this way, 6, 5, 4, 3. The number I'm looking at is 7, and it's greater than. So what numbers are greater than 7? Not 6. 6 is less than 7. 8 is. So I'm going in that direction. Simple. Done. Remember, if this is confusing and you want to spend more time on it, the videos are attached. The best thing I like about videos is you can pause. You can watch them 17 billion times if you want to. You can watch it over and over and over again until you're 100% sure you're right. Okay, 7 and 8. 2 quick multiplication problems involving a little bit more work, but not terrible. Okay, so this is just a multiplication of this. What I like to do is I like to think multiplication, you can always change the order. So this is really 6 times r times 5 times r squared. I'm going to change the order to work for me. 6 times 5 times r squared. Well, 6 times 5 is pretty easy. I put it in a calculator. I get the number 30. Now, it's got to be multiplied by this, r times r squared. Well, I got to remember my rules with exponents. You keep the base, and you add the exponents. 1 plus 2 is 3. Now, if you are confused, remember, watch the other videos. Next one. There's a bunch of ways you can do this. You can use FOIL. You can use like the distributive property. Okay. I am a big fan of the box method. Okay, so I'm going to do box method. I'm not going to do all 3 ways. But if you have a preference, you will do whatever you're comfortable with. Now remember, on this quiz, guys, I want to see work. I can't give you partial credit if I don't see work. Okay, so if I just get a number, if you just give me the number, you got to be 100% sure it's right because I'm marking it wrong. Okay, you get a 0 for that question. So let's say I do this and it's not super right. I make a mistake, and I might make a mistake here, I'm thinking. So I put in my Q, I put in my -7. If you need more explanation, remember this is in those videos. Take your time. Do it all day. You don't have any of the finals. Don't do anyone else's finals. Don't tell anyone I told you that. But today's math day. It's my day. Okay. So now I just start multiplying these boxes. Q times Q they meet here, and q times q, if you remember our exponent rules, is q squared. Multiply these two. Negative 7 times q is negative 7q. 6 times q, 6q. 6 times negative 7, I'm not sure. And be careful with these negatives because these mess people up all the time. Negative 42. And this is why I would show all the work, because negatives mess people up. And if you give me the wrong answer, it's just wrong, I'm not going to give you credit for it. So if you're going to just give me the answer, you've got to be using the calculator. I'd rather you show the work. Because if at this point you did everything right, and whatever little mistake you made from here on out, I'd probably give you most of the credit. I'd probably get 75% credit if you just did this, set it up right. But, so this is, bring out all these purples, negative 7q, 6q, positive 6q, minus 42. I combine like terms, negative 7 and positive 6. It's just negative 1 or negative q. So my final answer is q squared minus q, because I combined these, minus 42. That's your last part of the answer. Okay, moving on. I'm doing this quick, that's true. But you have the material there. The videos are there if you have more questions. So I also attached one of these. You don't have to use it if you don't like to use it, but I'm going to use it for this one. It says factor the following, and I'm going to write it here. So my factor is x squared plus 5x minus 6. Okay, so I do my a, b's, and c's. My a is 1, my b is 5, my c is negative 6. My factors of a times c, what numbers multiplied to a times c? A times c is negative 6 times 1 is just negative 6. My b is just 5. And so there's a whole bunch of ways you can get negative 6. You can do negative 5. Excuse me, not negative 5. I can't do. You can do negative 2 and 3. You can do negative 3 and 2. You can do negative 6 and 1 and 6 and negative 1. I can't think of any others. I think that's probably it. So these are all the possible ways you can multiply two numbers to get negative 6. But I got to add them. Do they add? Which one adds up to 5? Negative 2 and 3? Just 1. Negative 3 and 2, you add those up, you get negative 1. Negative 6 and 1, I get negative 5. And 6 and negative 1, there we go, I saved it till last. Is that one. So that's the two factors are 6 and negative 1. So up here, all you have to do is this part. You put an x, you put an x. Okay? So I'm going to change colors here because all you're doing is you're taking these pieces of information and you plug in here. This first one is plus 6. This second one here is negative 1. Okay. That's it. Okay? And if you want to, and if you use this, just attach this too. You can give me this information as written down like here. Okay? Just, put the boxes in, draw them up yourself, and do it like that if you want to show your work, because sometimes people forget all these steps. Okay, moving on. Cross multiplication. I know everyone loves cross multiplication, so just remember this is how you do it. There's going to be two problems for this question because they're relatively easy. 20 times 3 is 60. E times 4 is 4e. I divide both sides by 4. E equals 60 divided by 4 is 15. Remember, these are not the problems on the test. Unless you make me really want to laugh when I'm grading these, don't do these problems. These are just practice problems. They just show you how to do it. And I'm going really quick. Okay, 6 times 2 is 12. P times 3 is 3p. Got to get this. This is one step here. 3 divided by both sides here to get p by itself. And p equals 12 divided by 3. If I don't know it, you know what? It's the final exam. Even if I'm sure of it, I'm still going to check my work. Why make a freaking mistake here when I can just, I did like 12 divided by 3. Why not? You have all the time in the world today. 4 is my answer. So, since you have all the time in the world today, take your time, check your work, double check your work if you want, triple check your work if you want. Send it, find a professor of mathematics at one of the New York colleges if you want, and have him check your work or her check your work, because I want you to get this right. I want hundreds, hundreds, and hundreds. Okay, next step. There is the word problem. I'm not going to go through the cubes method, but if you use the cubes method, I'm giving you credit just for using the cubes method. Okay? So, basically, I'm going to tell you straight up, this is going to be an exponential growth word problem, which means it looks exponential growth. Remember, y equals a, b, t. Not like that. That doesn't look right. Y equals a, b, 2 to t. T is an exponent. So that's a bad example. T is time. B is rate. And A is original amount. Now the rate for an increase is 1 plus the percentage. Okay? If it was a decrease, it would be 1 minus, but this is an increase. The percentage, the R, is 5. So remember, you write as change, as in pennies. 5 cents on a cash register looks like that, 0.05. 1 plus 0.05, if you put in the calculator, you get 1.05. So there's my B. My T, time, well, in this case, it's in years, and it's from 1960 to 2011. So, unless they might tell you, I think on the final it says like 10 years or something like that, or 20 years. But if it says literally this, I have to figure out my T here. So this one might be a little bit harder. So 2011 minus 1960 equals 51. Okay, so my T is 51. And my A, the original amount is just 30,000. Here's my A. So I got my A, B, and T, so I just write them together. This you definitely want to use a calculator on. 30,000 times 1.05 times T, which is exponent of 51. Put that in the calculator. I have no idea what the answer is by looking at that. You have to be really, really talented, or the exponent has to be really slow. So don't even try to do this in your head. 30,000, 1.05, exponential, 51. Hit enter. When you get this number, your y will equal 361,223 and 9 cents. Which is a pretty good deal if you think about it. If you somehow could keep something for that long, it's almost $250,000 on a $30 investment. If you could be patient, that's good work. All right, guys, have a good one. I will talk to you later. I'm going to try and put everything up on a chat today, so look for that. That's coming up. But here's your work. Do a good job. I'll talk to you later.